Hey everyone, and welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're diving into the world of Kass Morgan,
Kass Morgan.
the author behind the super popular The 100 book series.
Yeah.
Now, our listener is ready to learn more about her, especially her background and that cool writing style of hers.
Right.
And guys, get this. One of the things we found is that she's scared her IKEA bookcase might just collapse on her.
Oh, that's great.
I know, right? So, to help us get a better understanding of her work, we have an expert with us today.
Hello.
I'm excited to see what we unearth today.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
And I think it's really interesting about the sources we've got.
What's that?
Well, we've got her bio from Goodreads, an excerpt from Rebellion, book 4, and even a peek at her currently reading list.
Oh, very cool.
And they kind of show us different sides of her.
What do you mean?
Well, her Goodreads bio, for instance.
Yeah.
Talks about her studying literature at Brown and Oxford,
Mm.
And then living in Brooklyn.
Oh, yeah. I saw that.
Which might resonate with some of our listeners.
Totally. If they're connected to those places, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Or, the whole academic world.
Uh-huh.
It even mentions that she's afraid of her IKEA bookcase falling apart.
Oh, right. Like crushing her while she's sleeping or something.
Yeah.
It definitely makes her seem more down to earth, though.
That's probably the goal.
Right. Totally. Like trying to connect with the reader.
Exactly. Make her seem relatable.
Yeah. But, it makes you think.
About what?
Like how much control authors have over their online persona.
Oh, for sure. Because, look at this bio.
What about it?
It's written in third person.
Huh.
Which makes me think maybe a publicist wrote this,
That's a good point. I hadn't thought of that.
It makes you wonder how much of it is really her, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So, what can we learn about her style from this excerpt, though?
Well, this passage from Rebellion is really cool because, it shows us something key about her writing.
What's that?
Sensory details.
Ooh.
Yeah. She really uses them to bring you right into the scene.
Give me an example.
All right. So, she describes this chilly evening.
Okay.
And the characters are all huddled together trying to stay warm.
Uh-huh.
They're using, blankets and even burying themselves in leaves.
Whoa, that's hardcore.
I know.
It's like she pulls you right into the story.
Yeah. That's exactly what she does. It's so real.
I remember reading that and getting chills myself.
I can imagine.
It was awesome. But you're right. It does make you feel like you're there with them.
That's what makes it so immersive.
Right. Especially in a dystopian world.
Totally. It can feel so foreign to us. But then she grounds it,
Grounds it how?
in these tangible details. It makes you connect with their physical experience.
Yeah, totally. And I feel like by doing that, she subtly creates this tension.
Oh, totally. Especially in this scene.
Right.
Right.
The one with Bellamy and Clark.
Exactly. It's electric. You can feel the romantic undercurrent.
Yeah, it's totally there.
And she uses those sensory details to heighten that feeling.
Like how?
They're physically close. They're sharing warmth.
Oh, I see what you mean. It's like you're intruding on a private moment.
Exactly.
Not just about describing the environment, then.
No, it's way deeper than that.
It's using those descriptions to build the tension.
Oh, yeah. The emotional tension between them.
I gotcha. Do you think this ties into it being YA fiction?
Oh, absolutely.
100, I mean.
Yeah, the 100. YA fiction, thrives on that stuff, right?
Weird stuff.
Intimacy, first love,
Uh-huh.
budding relationships.
Right. And it's all happening against this bigger story.
Exactly. And Morgan, she's so good at blending it all together.
Oh, yeah. The dystopian world, the romance, the danger.
Yeah. She nails it.
It's not just about the romance, though, right?
No, not at all.
This excerpt also hints at the power dynamics,
Yeah, for sure.
and the constant danger, the choices they have to make just to survive,
Totally. The scene's packed with subtext,
reflecting the anxieties of the whole story.
Exactly. And speaking of anxieties, those books on her currently reading list,
Yeah.
it makes me think about how those connect to the themes.
Oh, that's interesting. It is quite a mix, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. The Patrick Melrose novels by Edward St. Aubin,
Mm-hmm.
and then Americana by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie.
So different from the 100.
I know.
Totally different world.
Right. But the Patrick Melrose novels, they go deep into family stuff,
Yeah.
dynamics, trauma, all that.
Hmm.
And Americana, it tackles race and identity,
Oh, yeah.
immigration too.
Big, heavy themes.
Right. And even though those aren't explicitly in the 100, it makes you think.
About what?
Maybe they still, like, inform her writing.
You mean like subconsciously?
Yeah, exactly. Her understanding of characters.
That's fascinating. So even though she writes for a young adult audience, her reading tastes are like way more mature.
That's what I find so interesting about it. It adds this whole other layer to her.
Totally. So looking at all this, what do you think is like the most significant takeaway?
Honestly, the contrast, I think,
Oh, contrast.
between that public persona, from her bio,
Uh-huh.
and then, like, all this complexity in her writing.
And her reading choices.
Yeah. It shows a depth that goes beyond just the surface.
You're right. It makes you think about all those different layers.
Well, for sure. Like the different layers of a writer's personality.
Right. And how those might show up in their work.
Exactly.
It's a reminder that there's always more to uncover.
Always. More to unpack.
I agree. So should we like dig into that a little further?
Let's do it.
Awesome.
Where should we start?
All right. So we've established there's more to Kass Morgan than meets the eye. But how does this translate into her actual writing? We talked about the whole tension and realism she creates through sensory details. But what other like techniques does she use to draw the reader in?
Well, one thing that really struck me when I was going back through the 100 is how she uses classic dystopian tropes.
Okay.
But she still manages to surprise you.
Ooh, I like that.
It's like familiar but fresh.
Yeah, like taking something you think you know and flipping it around.
Exactly.
That's when it gets really interesting for me.
Oh, I agree.
Like when an author can just like turn it on its head.
Right. And it keeps you guessing, right?
Exactly. Like what's she going to do next?
Like, for example, take the whole chosen one thing.
Yeah, okay.
It's such a classic dystopian trope, right?
Totally.
The ordinary person suddenly thrust into extraordinary circumstances.
It's a hero's journey.
Yeah, exactly. But Morgan, she plays with that.
Oh, how?
Well, in the 100, it's like there are multiple chosen ones.
Whoa.
That's cool. I know, right? You've got Clark, Bellamy, even Wells.
Yeah.
They all have these unique strengths, but also weaknesses.
Right.
And their paths,
Okay.
intertwine in ways you don't expect.
You're so right. And I think that's what keeps you hooked,
Oh, for sure.
You're never sure who's going to step up or who's going to like totally mess up.
And the stakes are so high.
Right. It's life or death.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like she's subverting the traditional hero's journey.
In a way.
There wasn't just one single hero in the 100.
I see what you mean. It's more about the group.
Yeah, collective survival.
Right. And all the choices they make as like flawed individuals.
Exactly. It's not all black and white.
It sounds like she's making a statement about leadership then.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not just about one person swooping in to save the day.
It's way more nuanced than that.
Totally. What do you think?
Well, I think it's one reason the 100 resonates so much with young adults.
Why?
It reflects their lives.
Like how so?
Well, collaboration, teamwork, those are way more important these days.
Than like individual heroism.
Yeah. It's not just about one person anymore.
That's such an interesting point.
It makes you think about how YA literature has evolved, right?
What do you mean?
Well, it's not just about escapism anymore.
I guess not.
It's about tackling real issues.
Oh, you mean like social issues?
Yeah. And challenging those old power structures.
Makes sense. So Kass Morgan, she's tapping into that then.
Absolutely. And her success.
Yeah.
It shows there's a real appetite for these kinds of stories.
Like stories that deal with real stuff.
Yeah. And stories that give you hope, even when things are dark.
I getcha. But what about the decision to make The 100 into a TV show?
Oh, right.
How do you think that different mediums like impact the themes?
That's a good question. I mean, adapting a book always involves changes, right?
Sure.
You might lose some of the nuances.
Yeah.
But then you also reach a wider audience.
Right. More people get to experience the story.
Exactly. And you could show the world visually.
In a way you can't with just words.
Exactly.
So do you think the TV show did a good job? Like, did it stay true to her vision?
Well, it's definitely interesting to compare them.
In what way?
I mean, the TV show took some creative liberties, especially later on.
Yeah, it went in its own direction.
Right.
Oh.
But it still captured those core themes.
Like survival and morality.
Yeah. And the whole struggle for power.
Definitely. And it brought a whole new audience to her work, right?
Absolutely.
Makes you wonder what she thought about it all.
Well, she was involved in the early stages, from what I understand.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She had a positive experience, it seems.
But it must be tough. Right?
What do you mean?
Letting go of some control.
Oh, for sure. Trusting other people with your story.
It makes you think about, like, the challenges authors face these days.
Oh, yeah. It's not just about writing a good book anymore.
Right.
It's marketing, social media, all that.
It's a whole different world out there.
It's like they have to become entrepreneurs, you know?
Building their own brand.
Exactly. Engaging with their fans on all these platforms.
It's a lot. Speaking of engaging, have you seen how active she is on social media?
Oh, yeah. She's great.
She seems to genuinely like connecting with her fans.
I know. It's refreshing.
Yeah.
She comes across as so authentic,
Down to earth. Yeah.
and approachable. And that builds a connection with the readers.
Oh, totally. It's like a community. I
Exactly.
think that's really important nowadays.
Oh, for sure. It's not just about reading the book.
Right.
It's about having a dialogue.
Sharing your thoughts, being part of something bigger.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've been talking about Kass Morgan, her writing, her themes.
Yeah.
But now it's your turn, listener.
What do you think?
What techniques or themes stood out to you?
What grabbed your attention?
Let us know. But for now, let's talk about a bigger theme that runs through a lot of her work.
Ooh, like what?
The appeal of dystopian fiction.
Oh, yeah. Why do we love it so much?
Right. It's fascinating, isn't it? This genre, it's been around forever,
Centuries.
but it feels so relevant now.
Totally. Why do you think that is?
That's a good question. It's not like we don't have enough to worry about in the real world, right?
No, right? We've got plenty of problems.
Exactly. Yet we're drawn to these dystopian stories.
There's something about them that just grabs us.
It's like a, what's the word?
A fascination?
Yeah, maybe. Like a fascination with the worst case scenario.
Oh, interesting.
But like in a safe space, you know?
You mean we can explore our anxieties?
Yeah, without actually living through them.
Like a thought experiment.
Exactly. What if this happened? How would we react?
What choices would we make?
Right. And in a lot of dystopian stories, those choices are like really tough.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Morally complex.
Yeah. Characters facing dilemmas all the time.
They have to choose between survival and, like, doing what's right.
Or protecting the people they love.
Right. And remind us that human nature, it's complicated.
Yeah. Even in the worst situations, there's still good and evil.
And that's what makes it so compelling, I think.
Totally agree. We have to face those uncomfortable truths.
About ourselves, about humanity.
Right. And then think about the ethical implications.
Of our choices.
Exactly.
It's not just about escaping reality.
Right.
It's about using these stories to examine our own values.
I like that. And Kass Morgan, she's really good at this.
Oh, yeah.
She doesn't shy away from those difficult questions.
Nope. She makes you think.
About the gray areas.
Yeah, the fact that there are rarely easy answers.
And in doing so, what do you think that does for the reader?
I think it encourages them to think critically about the world.
Oh, totally.
To question things, to see different perspectives.
Yeah, that's a good thing, right?
Oh, especially for young readers.
But they're just forming their own opinions about everything.
Exactly.
Like giving them the tools to think for themselves.
To challenge things,
Right.
to imagine different possibilities.
I love that. So listener, what about you? What do you think about the future of dystopian fiction? Any predictions? New trends? Let us know. But for now, let's talk about another cool thing Kass Morgan does.
What's that?
The way she uses language.
Oh, yeah. Language is so powerful, especially in this kind of fiction.
It's how you create the world, right?
Totally. The setting, the rules,
Uh-huh.
and how the characters think and feel.
But in dystopian fiction, it can be used for, like, control.
Oh, for sure. Manipulation
Right. Think about propaganda.
or coded language.
Or even, like, suppressing certain words or ideas.
Ooh, that's scary.
It's a reminder that language can be used as a weapon
To shape how we see things.
and limit our understanding of the world.
Exactly. But it can also be used to fight back,
Oh, interesting.
like to challenge those in power.
To reclaim agency.
Exactly.
So it's not all bad.
No.
Yeah.
It's about finding creative ways to, like, subvert the narrative.
To express dissent.
Yeah.
To imagine a different future.
Exactly. And Morgan, she plays with all of this.
In her writing.
Yeah. In the 100, language is both a tool of control and a means of liberation.
Wow, that's cool.
It's subtle, but it's there.
Like under the surface.
Yeah. And it makes you think about language in our own lives.
How so?
Well, like, how are we using
To
it
shape the world.
to build bridges or to create walls?
Those are some deep questions. So, listener, we want to hear from you. How do you see language being used to shape the world around us?
So we've really gone deep into Kass Morgan's work today.
We have.
I mean, from those dystopian tropes she plays with to like those really complex themes.
It's been quite a journey.
Yeah, like leadership, morality, the human condition.
All that good stuff.
But as we wrap up, I think it's important to consider like her legacy.
For sure, especially in YA literature.
Right. The 100 has blown up. I mean, the fans are devoted.
It's become a real phenomenon.
And then there's the whole TV show thing.
Oh, yeah, the adaptation.
And it makes you think, right?
About what?
Like the impact a single story can have. It's wild, isn't it?
Totally. The 100, it sparked like so many conversations.
I know. About survival, ethics, choices.
When faced with like impossible odds.
Exactly. And it's introduced a whole new generation to dystopian fiction.
Right. Like they're discovering this whole genre.
And maybe even more importantly, it's shown something else.
What's that?
That YA can handle like really complex issues.
Oh, I see what you mean.
It doesn't have to shy away from the hard stuff.
The tough questions, the moral dilemmas.
Exactly.
And Kass Morgan, she doesn't hold back, does she?
No, she doesn't. She doesn't talk down to her audience.
Right. She respects their intelligence.
And their ability to like think critically.
I think that's what I love about YA, you know?
What do you mean?
It sparks these conversations. It makes you think.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just passive entertainment.
Right. You have to engage with it.
And Morgan's work is like the perfect example.
Totally. It's a catalyst for like dialogue and debate.
It gets people talking, sharing their thoughts.
But how does her work fit into like the bigger picture of dystopian fiction?
Interesting question. I mean, we talked about the classic tropes, right?
Yeah, and how she kind of twists them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So where does she fit? I think she represents a shift, you know. Dystopian fiction is moving away from like pure bleakness.
Yeah, the totally hopeless scenarios.
Right. Morgan's work, it offers something else.
Like what?
A glimmer of hope. The possibility of redemption.
Oh, interesting. It's not just about surviving the apocalypse then.
No, it's about more than that.
What do you mean?
It's about rebuilding,
Uh-huh.
redefining, like what it means to be human.
In this new world.
Yeah, finding meaning after everything's been shattered.
Yeah, I get that. And that probably resonates with young adults, right?
Totally. They're figuring out their own identities.
Right, their purpose.
The future, all of it.
And Kass Morgan, she's giving them hope.
Showing them that even when things are tough, you know,
Yeah.
the human spirit can still like shine through.
It can survive and thrive.
Exactly. And maybe that's her most important legacy.
What do you mean?
Hope.
Yeah.
Resilience. And the power of stories, you know.
To inspire us, to make us feel empowered.
Exactly.
Well said. And that brings us to the end of our deep dive into Kass Morgan's work.
Time flies when you're having fun, right?
It really does.
But as with any good deep dive, I think we've come up with some new questions.
New things to explore, new paths to follow.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of literature, you know.
It's a journey, always discovering, questioning, connecting.
So we'll leave you with this. What parts of Kass Morgan's work really stuck with you? Any questions that popped up? Insights you'll take away?
We want you to keep exploring her work, you know.
Dive deeper into those worlds she's created.
Let your imagination run wild.
Because the best deep dives are the ones we take on our own.
So thanks for joining us on this journey of literary exploration.
It's been a pleasure.
And until next time, happy reading, everyone.